Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infotainment Sports Dynasty podcast. Ben and Marcus here today to do a Dynasty startup draft. We're actually reviewing a startup draft that we just recently had, so it's even better than a mock, but we'll get a lot of time to talk about kind of how the whole draft board played out and everything that happened. So it should be a pretty fun episode today. Before that, though, we want to kick into some news, so let's do that. All right. So big news in the Dynasty world. Obviously, this stuff doesn't really play much into redraft, but quarterback contracts just came up, a lot of them. Some did, some didn't. The big ones of note, Jordan Love and Tua Tagovailoa got extended. Dak Prescott did not, which we've kind of talked about in the past already, so that'll be interesting to dive more into. But let's just start off with that. Yeah, initial thoughts on Jordan Love. Was kind of holding out of camp, waiting to get a deal, and got 4 years of being tied at the highest paid player in history, I believe it was. So, yeah, what do you think about Jordan Love getting locked up with the Packers?
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people talk about how he hasn't really proven much, or he's only played a season or wherever, but I just feel like, I mean, the NFL is a game of you got to have a quarterback, and if you don't, so I mean, I think the market is just lock him up. So they've had a good look at him. He's, been in the building for a long time. They want him around. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And as he showed last year, and I think a lot of what you see on tape, I don't know if you saw any of the highlights from family night, he's looking pretty good. He's slinging the ball around, putting it in tight windows, and he looks like he looks the part for sure. But I don't know. People are upset about it, but what are you going to do? Get Daniel Jones and pay, and then just be like, oh, do we have a quarterback, or you're just going to pay up? Yeah. The Eagles got crapped on a couple of years ago for Jalen Hurts, because why would we give Jalen Hurts $51 million, and now he's the 8th highest paid quarterback in the league with a bunch of guys that haven't been to the Super Bowl. So
right, yeah, exactly.
It is what it is. I think it's just it's the business,
Yep. Yeah, I'm not really sure when all CBAs kick in and all that stuff for like when they're renegotiating next for TV deals and when that eventually gets spiked. But yeah, highest paid, I guess, doesn't really matter to me. I was worried that the Packers were going to give him a deal that was like really, really long and like a huge commitment. I think 4 years, obviously still out of time. You can see the Giants now kind of caught up in the Daniel Jones situation where they're really stuck with him for 4 years. But yeah, Love has shown more promise, I think, than that. And
yeah,
I love that we got him tied up. And I think it's really interesting how the deal got done, actually, because the way it's structured, we're actually not paying him too much out of the salary cap until like the 4th year of the contract. Gutekunst put together some really weird deal that I haven't really seen before. I don't know if you saw anything about that, but it's like a lot of it's like guaranteed money and hardly any of it's counting against the cap for the next like 2 or 3 years. So it's pretty weird how it all happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think solid deal all around. I think personally, I feel better about that contract than the Tua contract. So yeah, Love was a 4 years, 220, 100 guaranteed, 75 at signing. Tua, 4 years, 212 million. So just under that, up to 221 in guarantees. Was that right? Oh no, sorry. The contract's up to 221. It's at 212, but there's incentives that could raise it up to 221, which would technically be more than Love, which is kind of weird. And 93 guaranteed. So, yes, okay. But for the Tua contract, I think for fantasy and dynasty, this makes me feel a lot better about Tua. Honestly, I am one of the people who is very worried about him, very worried about concussions and stuff like that. I think had he had more concussion issues before getting the extension, that would have like completely done it for me, or possibly did it for him. But now that he's signed a 4-year deal with a lot of money involved with it, I think if there's concussion issues, he's still going to try to fight through them. So I think him getting the extension's a really big step up and makes me feel a lot more comfortable with Tua than I did before.
Yeah, for sure. And then also there's got to be a good feeling too after that they reworked Tyreek Hill's deal for another 3 years too.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So that also helped. That also makes me feel better about the Tua thing. But Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you saw Tua and that Dolphins team play in Kansas City in the playoffs, so I think Miami's a good place for him because trying to avoid the cold weather doesn't. I mean,
Yeah.
that was absurdly cold, though. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, we can't play in the cold weather," but it was also
That was
like
it was ridiculous.
very cold. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I mean, it's worked. I think he fits the offense, and it's gonna.
Yep.
It's good.
Yeah, the biggest concern for me, like I was saying, was the longevity, and like if he didn't have that deal like locked up and he had more concussion issues, I could see his career like ending short. But I think when you have 4 years left on a deal, then there's more incentive to like not hang it up and come back and stuff. So
right,
cross our fingers he keeps staying healthy and still plays well, and yeah, it's a good situation for him. It definitely bumps him up my thoughts of him in Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe we're kind of like past the point where Dak can really get extended. I don't know. Maybe he can later. I don't really know how that works, but we talked about that earlier, how the Cowboys are just kind of messing around with that. And it's just interesting to see a couple more guys get paid and Dak still on the sidelines waiting for money.
Mm-hmm. Did you see or hear that about Jerry Jones, his comments?
Nope.
He said something along the lines that he has a better feel on the landscape of the financial situation of the NFL than most owners do.
Oh, so yeah.
He's like, I've got a plan, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's paying their third string quarterback like $12 million a year. That's the plan.
Right. Well, and like as an Eagles fan, and yes, I'm wearing a Larry Fitzgerald Cardinals jersey. We'll get into that later. But as an Eagles fan, I really want Dak to go somewhere else so I can cheer for him because I like Dak the human, but I hate that he's in Dallas, you know? And right. We talked about, I think a couple episodes ago, I've said Dak to the Raiders, and I still stand by that. I think his story, if they don't pay for him and he goes out and balls out again this year, like the Raiders just seem like the gritty the FU team for him to go to, and just like fits. I just like that idea, I guess. But yeah, well then also like CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons got to get paid, and I just don't. Right. It's hard to see what Jerry Jones is necessarily doing because he could have had his guys taken care of here, but now the money just keeps going up. CeeDee Lamb could have been taken care of. Now, I mean, he's going to be he should be getting, I don't know, quite Justin Jefferson money, but up there with whatever Jamar Chase gets. So it's hard to say.
Yep, the Cowboys are just notorious for not paying the guys and letting them go unpaid, and we'll see. I mean, that could result in bad blood, even if they do offer him something. He could just want out. He could be sick of it. Who knows? Yeah. But to the Raiders could be fun. So
yeah, especially get a couple more. Give me 3 more years of Devontae Adams, and I want to see Dak play with Devontae Adams.
Oh, really?
They can go and sign a receiver or something like that. I don't think Dak is a bad quarterback by any means, and like I don't understand the playoff struggles, if that's a Dak Prescott thing or if that's just the Dallas Cowboys or haven't done anything in the last 30 years.
Yeah, seems like a curse.
It's weird. Yeah, kind of. Right.
Yep. All right, awesome. Yeah, that covers the three quarterback contract situations we want to talk about. Let's go ahead and jump into reviewing our most recent startup draft. All right, so I got our draft board pulled up here. We can kind of go through, and obviously there'll be people listening to this as well, so we'll have to try to kind of explain what's going on or what players are getting taken.
I've got it on my phone, so I'm checking the draft board, not ignoring anything.
Sweet. So this is a 10-team super flex tight end premium. I forget. Is your league?
Shit. I think the tight end is standard, but we did half-point PPR with a half-point bonus for every first downs,
yep. Okay.
Reception. So I think that's where that comes into
play. 6 point per passing or 4? I don't remember that either.
6 point.
Sweet. All right. Yeah, that being said, we entered this draft. You were the 7th pick, and I was the 9th pick. That was all like randomized by you, and when I got the 9th pick, I was instantly a little upset because I knew I was going to miss out on the top
Yeah.
6 or 7 guys. And
Mm.
for me, that really bummed me out. And I kind of was just thinking up some crazy strategies from the get-go because I knew I was going to be missing out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say the way I decided the draft was I had a random generator generate me the list of or like the order 1 through 10, and then that was the order in which people got to choose. So
Yep.
whoever got one, I said, hey, what pick do you want, and so on. Unfortunately, you were like
I was last on the list. I didn't get to pick.
last on the list, so you had what was left exactly.
Yep, I got 9. So even the guy before me took 10 or whatever, so you could have the 2 swing picks. I just kind of got stuck with 9, which honestly would be my least favorite position in the draft. Unfortunately, I just got stuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when you picked, but you probably liked the 7th position, especially the way the draft kind of turned out for you, in my opinion.
Yeah,
seems like you'd be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I don't remember. I was like middle, I think, or the 4th or something like that. Because I remember like 5 and 6 were gone. And then I think 1. So I must have been like the 5th or 6th pick.
Sure. Yeah. So let's just go through some of the picks really quick. And then, I mean, as it develops, we'll kind of talk about like, hey, at this point, this is what I was thinking. And this kind of changed my mind here and all that happened. So it started out quarterback heavy. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, CJ Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and then Anthony Richardson at 6, I think surprised me a little bit. I know we had a little bit of chatter about it, but a lot of people are talking very highly of him. He's obviously a very high upside pick. I was just surprised to see him go top 6 in a draft. I was hopeful to get him probably with my 2nd round pick, my 2-2. I was kind of thinking about him, and it seems like with him going at 6, I had no chance of getting him.
Yeah, I was surprised, but then like doing some looking and stuff like that, it's like I'm just so concerned that he's played 3 games or whatever.
I know. Yeah, it's so crazy. I can't imagine anybody else getting picked that high after that little bit of time on the field.
Yeah, it's kind of great. But I mean, the potential obviously is just like absurd, but that's a lot to invest. The funny, or not, I guess it's not very funny, but the interesting thing, the guy that made the pick in my other dynasty, we did this startup however many years ago. His first pick was the first overall pick was Andrew Luck. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So he took Andrew Luck in that one. Andrew Luck retires, and now he went Anthony Richardson. I'm surprised there wasn't any PTSD there or anything, but yeah, I was kind of surprised. But I mean,
he's definitely a guy who could be like the number 1 overall pick next year in a startup.
Sure.
If he comes out and just dominates, no injuries, looks amazing. I mean, with the rushing upside and his age and his arm talent, yeah, he could go up there. I thought the unknowns would push him back, and I thought I'd be able to grab him, so I was a little sad when that happened. Next pick, you were able to take Justin Jefferson, so since everybody went quarterback right away, you got the best wide receiver on the board at the 7th pick.
But there was one quarterback still left that I was debating between, and that was Joe Burrow or Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really, really thought about it, and I just, I don't know, I just pulled the trigger on Justin Jefferson for whatever the reason was, and 24 years old, but I don't know, that one I still feel. I mean, I think I've texted you a few times about it.
Yep.
I've just been like, I don't know, because especially with the next pick that I have.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, once we wrap around, we'll talk about how that panned out. So, Jefferson, and then the guy you were thinking about, Burrow, went next. Then my pick, I decided I wanted to trade down. I was going to try to maybe grab a quarterback with my 2nd round pick. I was going to look at Caleb Williams or Jordan Love, so I traded down from the 1st round to the 2nd round and picked up a rookie 1st round pick in the next year's draft. But that it brought me from the 9th pick to the 2-9, so it was like quite a ways back, like 10 picks or so. I kind of just want to trade back, regroup, and like pick up that rookie pick to just kind of have the ammunition and see how the season goes. So then went CeeDee Lamb. The guy with the 10th pick went Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, which I was surprised about because I thought I was for sure going to be able to get one of those guys. They both went, and at that point I was a little bit like, oh man, like the quarterback strategy is a little bit out the window. Had I not done any trades, it looks like I might have been able to get like Marvin Harrison, Kyler Murray stack, which would have been nice. I mean, maybe should have thought about that a little bit harder, but like I said, when all the quarterbacks started going and I wasn't going to get a guy I wanted, I kind of switched strategies and I'm like, I'm going to pick up some assets in the future and just see how I can get this draft to turn out. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I took Marvin Harrison with my actual first pick in the draft, which is 2-2. Then Kyler Murray went. Then back to you went Jamar Chase. So your draft started with Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. No quarterbacks, but the top 2 wide receivers in a lot of people's eyes.
I had to wear the Larry Fitzgerald jersey to hold it down for the receivers. But yeah, I mean that pick also, I was like, I was really considering Justin Herbert for that pick. So I could have had Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, but instead I went Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, or Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Why didn't you consider Justin Herbert? Are you not a Herbert guy, or was it too early for you, or what were your thoughts?
That's a good question. I have him in my league, in our other league. And obviously there's just like a little bit of concern there. And I kind of just wanted to make a different team, honestly. Yeah. I wanted to like try out what it was like to have some young wide receivers. And I really thought I was going to be able to figure out a young quarterback later. Like I was going to be eyeing up like Jaden Daniels, Trevor Lawrence, Drake May, just someone young, but like just stack up some receivers and some future assets. So I kind of just wanted to see how it played out. I didn't want to get the same guys in both leagues, which
that's fair.
I don't know. I don't really have anything totally against Justin Herbert. I was just kind of playing the board differently, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of, I mean, I've had Herbert before, but to me, I was just so surprised that Jamar Chase was there. Like, I mean, you playing Dynasty with you for the last few seasons or whatever, like, you love the youngest guys you possibly can get. So Marvin Harrison going before Jamar Chase was, I honestly took Jamar Chase because I was just like, this is just feels like such a value pick for me.
It was. I couldn't believe you stayed. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, CeeDee Lamb going before Jamar Chase to me isn't that. It's fine, you know? Okay, sounds good. But I just couldn't pass it up. That was like the biggest thing, was just, I loved the idea of the Jefferson Chase stack.
Yep.
Just, I don't know. Something about
I love it too. I was texting you right away about the Gritty Gang. I think that's just so cool.
Yeah.
The 2 guys that do it, the LSU guys. I really did think about Chase a lot. I don't think I had him higher in my rankings. I don't remember, but I have Chase in my other league too. So again, I think that played into it, where I just kind of want to do something different. I have Herbert and Chase, and I want to go Marvin Harrison. And like you said, I like the young guys. I really, in Dynasty, a big approach of mine is I want appreciating assets instead of depreciating ones. Like I want guys who are going to hold their value where they're at or possibly go up. So I kind of take swings in that regard, where I had a little bit of concern about Joe Burrow's wrist and stuff too. So yeah, I went Harrison.
Yeah.
So after Herbert, went Bijan Robinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Breece Hall. So a couple of running backs. The first 2 backs off the board were Bijan and Amon-Ra. Or sorry, Bijan and then Breece after Amon-Ra.
Yeah.
Then the next pick there, this was the pick that I had traded down for my first round in. So this was now my pick at the 2-9, which I then offered up to anybody else again, because I don't know, I didn't like how it was shaking out. I thought I was going to be able to get a quarterback with my 3-9. I was thinking that Lawrence or Daniels might fall down there. They didn't, as we'll see in a second here. But that was my thought. I maybe should have held on to the pick. I do actually like kind of how it shook out. But yeah, I kind of lost my opportunity at one of the top quarterback options when I did this. I traded down with you. You gave me a second for me to go down a couple of picks. And then you acquired this pick and took Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of, at this point, after I went Jamar Chase, and then like after those, you know, Allen Hurts, Stroud, Mahomes, Jackson, Richardson, Burrow, Williams, Love, Murray, and Herbert, like that, they're gone. Those quarterbacks are gone. I kind of almost I was like, well, guess I'll figure this out later.
That's what I did too. We both did. We were texting each other during the draft. We're like, I guess we're not going quarterbacks.
Yep. I was like, over. I guess I'm going to go 0 QB in a super flex. So, yeah, I just decided then, I was like, okay, I've got Jefferson, I've got Chase, 2 blue chip guys, cornerstone guys, you know, arguably. And then I was like, let me go get Jahmyr Gibbs. Let me get you know, that top tier running back too behind Bijan and Breece Hall. And I was just like, let me just get some star power in these positions because I'm going to need it, basically.
So much explosiveness out of your three players in the two most important positions, and I mean super flex you could argue quarterbacks, but yeah. I mean I like how that built, and if you find quarterbacks that have production, then yeah, your team is just going to be like really hard to go against every week. So
yeah, that was my thought process.
Yep. I like what you did there with that. And then after that went Puka Nacua, Sam Laporta for the 210 and the 3-1. Then Christian McCaffrey was the second pick of the third round. Jaden Daniels went at 3-3, which is like a little bit higher than expected, but not surprising just because of the young quarterbacks. Garrett Wilson, Trevor Lawrence went. I was a little bummed that Trevor Lawrence went because I was up in 2 picks, and that was going to be where I grabbed my quarterback. So I was hoping to pick up a first and a second round pick, or rookie picks, and then still get, Marvin Harris and Trevor Lawrence. But yeah, Lawrence went off the board. Then it was A.J. Brown to the guy who took Richardson Herbert, so he got a good, nice quarterback stack and a good wide receiver. And then the next pick was yours that you traded with me, so I finally had that pick, and I took Malik Neighbors. So I traded down. I ended up with Marvin Harris and Malik Neighbors, which I was like pretty happy with. I'm really, really big on the young guys, and I have a lot of belief in Malik Neighbors, so I felt good about him being available. There was right around where he's supposed to go, so I felt good about solidifying that as my wide receiver core. So we kind of had a similar build with the 2 wide receivers. You just had Gibbs as well.
Yeah. I would say too, just kind of going back, I was kind of surprised that Puka Nacua went over like Garrett Wilson. In my opinion, that
me
was
too.
Kind of interesting. And AJ Brown, I won't. I mean, just because it is a dynasty, so we're talking age. He's 27 or whatever. So, but Puka Nacua going over Garrett Wilson, I guess, was kind of like Garrett Wilson's done it with like ass quarterbacks, and he's been 1,000-yard receiver over Puka. He's done it once, but
yeah, I like Garrett Wilson over Nacua too.
Yeah, but thought it was interesting, but to each their own. The crazy thing about these startups is like there are right and wrongs, but not really too, because there's a lot of other influences that play it.
Yep. Yeah, I think if the guy before me took Neighbors too, I think I would have switched up my strategy as well. I don't think I would have taken AJ Brown there. I would have figured something else out. But yeah, then after my pick went Jonathan Taylor, and then my pick was up again. So this was my actual third round pick. I took Drake London, which if you've listened to our other podcast episodes, I'm a big believer in Drake London. I'm kind of all in on him this year. I took him maybe like a couple spots earlier than expected. I don't know. But yeah, I like London. Excited to lean into that one. Following that was the number 10 team who had already taken Caleb Williams, Jordan Love. They doubled up on running backs, Saquon Barkley and Kyron Williams. That was something I wasn't like huge on, and I'm not really sure, honestly, who this team belongs to or like what his normal dynasty strategies and stuff are. But I thought it was really interesting to go back-to-back running backs. Yeah, do you have anything to say about how that ended up?
Well, knowing that guy, he's just.
That's what he does.
He just does. He's got his ways. He's doing his stuff. You can see how the draft stacked out. Like as we go on or whatever, you can see how he does this thing. But yeah, I mean, Saquon Barkley could be a difference maker. It all depends, and we've talked about this before as far as like how you rank guys. Is like, are you win now? Like Saquon Barkley is 27, so you did just draft a 27-year-old running back with your third pick, but it is Saquon Barkley. Like, can the Eagles get Christian McCaffrey type difference maker out of that? And then, even if it's for 2 years, it could be worth it if he goes out and wins. True. But Kyron Williams, I'm skeptical of just because, I don't know, they drafted Blake Corum and like. I
am too, yeah.
I've seen too many guys that are not one-hit wonders, but, a blip on the radar for 2 or 3 seasons and then they're out of the league or just gone. And it's like, whoa, what happened to that guy? Then we play that game on Twitter that's like, name a random running back. And then they show up on that thread.
Remember Kyron Williams, that awesome year? And then Blake Corum came in and he never played again. Yeah, that kind of deal. Yeah, so anyway, he doubled up quarterbacks, doubled up running backs. I was a little surprised when it happened, but that left me with a pick, and I still was without a quarterback. At this point at 4-2, I ended up taking Drake May, and we talked earlier, I'm a big believer in Drake May. There's been a lot of weird stuff coming out of camp, and we can talk a little bit about it. But at this point in the draft, I could have gone someone like Brock Purdy or Dak Prescott. I think in hindsight, I'm still happy I went May. But yeah, I mean, Purdy probably would have been a more solidified, safer option. Yeah, I mean,
for the immediate.
Yes, and thinking back, I mean, we talked about this before. We feel really good about Brock Purdy as a QB2, but I feel sick about him as a QB1. So I think I just shot for like the unknown upside, and I just believe in the Drake May talent. And back to the training camp stuff. Yeah, this is around the time when training camp started, and it sounds like it was a rough start for Drake May. They said he put in a couple of good practices at the end of the first week, but yeah, it sounds like people are like panicking, kind of shit talking him. I'm not really like worried about it. But it never feels good to hear people talking smack about a guy that you took at the 4-2 or whatever. So
yeah, I don't know. I've been getting kind of annoyed at all of the training camp hoopla and mumbo jumbo that's out there of just like there's like a guy making a drop back pass in his gym shorts and everybody's like, ooh, we got one. We finally got one. And it's like,
yeah, I know.
Like, just give the kid a chance to play a game.
Absolutely, yeah.
But with that being said, though, I saw some like a Trey Lance low light where he threw it right directly to the linebacker that was standing right in front of him, and it's like,
yeah,
I think there's things that guys can do well and look crisp, and you're like, oh, that looks nice, or the release, but like,
yeah,
pretty easily if you're not able to play well in training camp, though, that is a bad look. Like not being able to play well, but to play really good in training camp, it needs to be kind of like
There's obviously guys will like come out of nowhere and hit the ground running, but I mean, going to the NFL is a huge adjustment. Like guys are faster, and I think even in training camp, like NFL coverages are so much better about like disguising things and like doing shells and confusing quarterbacks and stuff. So I think like as you're in the NFL longer and you have more time to learn, I think he's gonna like learn some of that stuff. I mean, sometimes it just doesn't come right away, and I'm not even like, a lot of it's probably just blown out of proportion too. So
well, and another thing too about training camp is like there's also a giant aspect of these guys like that are working on their craft too. Like they're not trying to fail, but it's okay to fail in training camp.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
It's like it's a guy's like fourth training camp practice. Calm down.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I don't want to see a guy who's just dumping it off to the running back for a good completion percentage and stuff. I want to see a guy who's testing out like, oh yeah, if I try to fit in that window versus zone coverage, what's going to happen? And like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For sure. All right. Yeah. After Drake May went Tyreek Hill, obviously a guy we talked a lot about, great talent. I wasn't looking wide receiver, so is what it is. Yeah. Next pick was you. So you already had Jefferson, Chase, Gibbs. You went for your first quarterback and Dak Prescott here.
Yeah. Yeah. That just felt like, just like the best security blanket. I just like couldn't stomach waiting. And like, I thought about Brock Purdy, but, I believe in Dak Prescott a little bit more for
Yeah, and like you said, you want to root for him. So I mean, it's kind of fun to pick guys you'd root for and guys you like. So
right. Well, and I look at just like regular season, like Dak Prescott can go out there and just light it up during the regular season, and the playoffs doesn't really matter for fantasy football.
Exactly. Yep.
So it's like let him go out there and rip the ball around and do whatever. And I don't know
the way he ended last year. Yeah, I mean. He was tearing it up. So
hard to argue with it. I could have went Purdy. I could have went Tua. And like hindsight, it's like, but they're all kind of in the same tier for me. I could have taken those guys for younger age, but I also feel like Tua and Purdy benefit from the systems they're in, whereas Dak I think could go somewhere else and do something different under a different offense. So
yep, for sure.
And
I like it.
Yeah,
I like the pick, especially with your team, kind of like the built heavy win now for sure. Like, I mean, that's a very solid start for your first 4 picks.
Yep.
After that went Travis Etienne, Chris Olave, who I obviously really like, Roma Dunze, Brandon Ayuk, Brock Purdy. Then at the turn went Josh Jacobs, Tua Tagovailoa. So for the guy picking number 1, obviously have a pretty decent advantage there in my opinion. So he ended up with Josh Allen, Puka, Sam Laporta, Josh Jacobs, and Tua, which pretty solid. Yep. After that, Tua was Devontae Smith, Trey McBride, Devon Achane. So I think that was a pick I remember I was talking to him when he was making that pick. I don't remember if I was trying to get it or acquire it or whatever, but yeah. Achane, obviously huge upside. So Don't hate that there. I mean, that was his number one running back, but he has a good group of wide receivers in Patrick Mahomes, so that worked out pretty well. Then Jalen Waddle and Michael Pittman. And before we get to your pick, did you want to talk about any of those previous ones?
I did notice when I was looking through the board too, guy that took Devontae Smith also took Jalen Hurts in the first round. So I was kind of, I have that stack in our other dynasty, and that's.
And he's got McCaffrey and Purdy, which is kind of a stack too, with McCaffrey getting receiving touchdowns. Yep. So that's pretty nice.
You get a pretty win now draft as we go through it. We'll see what the longevity of it is. And then the other part too, I just wanted to highlight was the Brandon Ayuk when he was kind of the guy that not influenced because I saw it on Twitter initially, but like he's definitely a guy that I was like kind of want to get my hands on because we brought it up in the previous one of the other episodes about his first down percentage. He caught like 81% of his, so that's a full point in this league. It's a half point if you don't get a first down, full point for a first down. So I'll be curious to see how that shakes out or what that looks like at the end of the season. Especially when I can run it up against some of my other full point PPR leagues.
It'll be interesting.
Or half point. I think our other one is a half point, so it'll be cool to straight half point with no bonuses.
So after that, then like I said, your next pick was up, and you took JJ McCarthy as your second quarterback. The pick directly after that was Goff. So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about how that played out? You like your McCarthy pick?
Yeah, I mean McCarthy. I'm buying into more of the Kevin O'Connell offense. And then I have Justin Jefferson, so I like the future stack. There's also like a part of this pick that I, later in the draft that I backed it up. Spoiler alert, I grabbed Sam Darnold. So for me, it was one of those things where I was like, I didn't want to rely on JJ McCarthy as my QB2 for this season, but I was like, let me get Sam Darnold. I really like Kevin O'Connell. I think what he was able to do, even in just like short stints, like I feel like with Josh Dobbs and Mullins and all these guys that he had to go through, those guys looked good until they weren't. And then they moved to the next guy, and then they looked good until they weren't. And then they, and it kind of just went down the line. So I was actually messaging one of my buddies who's a Vikings fan, and I just think JJ McCarthy seems like the kid has the right mindset. He's got all of the weapons, and he's got the head coach. We'll see. I don't know. So that's kind of versus your pick for Drake May. There's a lot of uncertainty there. You got a defensive-minded head coach that's never coached before. There's the weapons are uncertain. He doesn't. Doesn't have Justin Jefferson. So
that's a really good point.
That was kind of the pick. I mean, say what you want about the tape and all that other stuff. He's one of those guys that I've seen on Twitter where he makes a throw over the middle against the second team defense. People are like, "Oh, we got a guy." I'm like, just give the kid a chance. No wonder why Vikings fans are heartbroken all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was kind of my thought. I think the Justin Jefferson stack and the Kevin O'Connell, nothing really against Jared Goff, but I just kind of like, it was just that future grab. I felt like Jared Goff is another Dak Prescott type of, and I just wanted something a little bit, dynasty move. Yeah.
I actually didn't even think of the fact that you had Jefferson when you took McCarthy. Like I didn't even piece those two things together, and that helps it make a lot more sense. Like obviously solid pick either way, but you're betting on kind of the coach and the situation and him fitting into it well. And with me and May, I'm just betting on him being a good talent and making it work. So similar sides. But so McCarthy, Goff. Then it was my pick, and a lot of this I actually am like kind of forgetting happened this way. So I took Brock Bowers, which would have been the third tight end off the board. So I ended up taking Bowers before Pitts and Kincaid. That was definitely a spicy pick on my part. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. I just think of him being a freshman, being like the number one option at Georgia, and just like I want to see it work in the NFL, and I want him to just dominate for like 10 years. So I'm just really hopeful. I'm like, I already got Harrison, I got Neighbors. Let's go for the rookie tight end with high upside. So that was totally just a big shot. I don't know. I'm a big believer in Kincaid. I obviously love Kyle Pitts already too, but I think Kincaid's gonna like look really good this year. If I had to pick any of those guys just in a vacuum, I might pick Kincaid, but I kind of just want to see what happened with Bowers just for fun.
Yeah. You were kind of in your young guy bag. You were just like, I think at that point too, if I remember, you were not frustrated, but kind of.
I was tilting a little bit.
Kind of just like, you're like, well, since I've punted on this season, I might as well.
Yeah. I was literally at this point, I was like, even JJ McCarthy, like, I was like, maybe I could get JJ McCarthy and Drake May stack, and even that was gone. I'm like, oh man, what do I do now?
Yeah. Not that it's like a total punt, like it's a terrible pick by any means, but I mean, to go him over Kincaid, it's like you already had an extra first round pick next year and now a second round pick at this point for next year. So you've got 4 picks in the first 2 rounds of the rookie draft next year. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just the
I think a huge part of it for me was I was just thinking back to how long Kyle Pitts held value. I mean, he had a pretty good first year, but after a couple of bad years, he still held good value. And Kyle Pitts in startup drafts was going first, second round for a couple of years. And I think just the landing spot of Bowers pushed him down. So, I mean, maybe not pushed him down, but like, I think if he would have gone to a different team, he probably would have been taken before this pick. So I just kind of wanted to try to scoop what value was there in him. And I still think I drafted him before he should have got drafted, but I don't know. It's going to be fun to see how it plays out. After that pick, went to the swing picks, Nico Collins, DJ Moore. So another double stack. He went quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Like Nico Collins, DJ Moore. Then that was to my pick, and I think that was like kind of a thought as well. I was looking at Kenneth Walker when it was my pick for Brock Bowers, but I was like, he just took 2 running backs, so I'm going to play the board here and let him take something other than, maybe the tight end that I like. I could see him taking Bowers at that point. So I went Bowers, let him take 2 wide receivers, and took Kenneth Walker, who had slid down the board a little bit. I know you just traded him away in our other league. There's kind of iffy things with him, but like I didn't have a running back at this point. He's young. When he's playing well, and I have belief in him. I have Charbonnet in our other league and still like Kenneth Walker, so I'm excited to see how that pans out.
Yeah.
Then there was a little bit of a run on running backs. After Walker went Rachaad White, James Cook, Isaiah Pacheco. Oh yeah, sorry, you took James Cook if you want to say anything about Cook.
Yeah, it was just kind of that run on running backs. It was Ken Walker and Rachaad White, and I was like, well, let me get my RB2 here. Looking back, I'm like, I don't know why I didn't think like Kincaid or Pitts, tight end, but I just kind of, I don't know. I just decided it was time for a running back. I wanted my RB2, and I kind of liked how they finished last season. The Bills did, and I thought Cook would be a good RB2, and without the Bills having any like weapon, it's a new look Bills this year. They've just changed it over, and I'm really thinking they're going to utilize that running back spot again. And I'll just go with it. As my RB2.
There's good hype around Cook, and to have him at your RB2 is excellent. Obviously, the year ended super well for him. There's so many vacated targets in the Bills, and a lot of those go to running backs a lot of the time. I see them utilizing him a lot more, and I think getting him as an RB2 was really good for you to pick him up here, to be honest. Yeah. Like he'd feel pretty good as an RB1. He feels really good as an RB2.
Yeah.
But yeah, then Pacheco and then a couple tight ends, Kyle Pitts, Dalton Kincaid. After them, DK Metcalf, T. Higgins, George Pickens, Lad McConkey, and then my pick was up. I don't remember how I got this technically from Jay. So yeah, looks like I traded up. Somehow traded up. I don't remember how this all shook out, but it's a trade. Looks like I went up. Yep. Looks like I went up, and I took Jonathan Brooks as my RB2. So yeah, I went up and sniped him out. That was a little bit earlier than he was supposed to go, but I just believe in him, and I'm ready to wait for the injury to heal, and hopefully he comes out explosive, because obviously my team right now is built to, kind of grow and get better as time goes, and I'm not expecting to come out of the gates hot at 5-0. So I'm just gonna kind of let the beginning of the season play out and see where I'm at when Brooks comes back. But yeah.
Also at that point, we weren't necessarily sure about the injury. It's just kind of recently that he's looking at the week 3 or 4 return.
Yeah, it could have been that yeah, exactly. Yeah, at that point. Oh well. Yeah. I can be patient. I'm a team that can afford to be patient for him, because that's what my plan was anyway. Yeah. but I like him. I drafted him as a rookie in our other league. I prefer him over DeAndre Swift, who was the next pick. So,
Yeah.
Brooks Swift, Zay Flowers, Xavier Worthy, Mark Andrews, and then you were up with 7-7, took JSN, Jackson Smith, and Jigba as your wide receiver 3. It would be then.
Yeah, I'm so in on JSN this year.
Yeah,
I have him
I
in
like
my
him a
other
lot.
league, and I'm just super in. And I was like, yeah, give me him as my wide receiver 3. I really, I don't know. I was just in on him, I guess. I took him over a couple of more picks that are coming, like the Keon Coleman, Brian Thomas. It's just like, for me, this draft, I kind of switched my idea instead of attacking and trying to get every single rookie, kind of like the route that you went. I took these guys that looked like they could play in the league. They showed that they could play last year or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was their rookie season last year, but I was like, all right, he can do it. Let me grab him, and Tyler Lockett will be out of there soon enough within the next year or so.
Yeah.
So
I like him a lot. His price is going to go up. He's a talented wide receiver. He's going to get more work, and just with the new offensive coordinator coming in from Washington, he's going to get so utilized, and it's going to be way better this year. I've been trying to acquire
him pretty heavily in a lot of leagues. I've been trying to get him.
Yeah, I like that.
And then also like Geno Smith. I know he had some injuries, but the Sam Howell went there, and Sam Howell slung that thing around.
It sounds like the coaches are like him too, so that's interesting that they like Howell. So maybe kind of a plan for him to succeed, Geno. We'll see.
Yeah.
After JSN, Keon Coleman, Travis Kelce went here, 7-9. I mean, he did get a couple more years added on his contract, but is getting up there in age.
That was Jay's pick.
Who is the guy who's going in win now? Yeah.
He's already built that team. He's got the team that's Jalen Hurts, CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, Devontae Smith, DK Metcalf.
Yep.
And now he's got.
Yeah, it's a solid squad to start.
Travis Kelce. So I know, and I was talking to him, and at one point he was like, "Okay, I'm trying to win this thing. I'm trying to dominate the next 2-3 years of this league minimum. Let's do this." So
especially after he gave me a first rounder to trade up into the first round. So we definitely took different approaches. He's going all in. So I like that for him, as he's going to be very formidable this first year. Then to the swing picks was Brian Thomas, TJ Hawkinson. So he finally didn't take two of the same position. He actually switched it up and went tight end. So then after this was I was up. I took Rashee Rice. I took him because I believe in him a lot, and I was just excited about him. I like his connection with Patrick Mahomes. He's one of those guys like Drake London, Chris Olave that I have a lot of belief in it. I think he's going to stand out. So I think this is the time to get him. We'll see about suspension stuff. I targeted him as a wide receiver, and I liked him, and I wanted him, so I took him.
Boom. Crazy how that works.
Yeah. Then Ramondre, and then you were up and took Jaden Reed, so another second-year wide receiver who showed promise.
Yeah, just kind of similar, just buying into the offense. The Jordan Addison went after my pick. I've traded away Jordan Addison in the 2 leagues that I had him. The knucklehead aspect of it just kind of concerns me. It's interesting though, because like Rashee Rice I have in another league and I didn't trade away, but it's just like I don't know. There's something about it. It's just a different kind of knucklehead, I guess. But there's something about it.
The Rashee Rice knucklehead stuff was infuriating when I saw all that happen. I was like, oh my gosh, you're such an idiot. But I don't know. I'm just really hoping. I don't even have anything to back it up. I'm just hoping it doesn't. I'm hoping it ends. And
and for me, it was the second one with Addison. This last one where it was just like, okay, and I don't know what came out of it, if he was just sleepy, but it's just like when these guys are ending up in the news for not good reasons. But at this point, I didn't take him. Although the value I thought was pretty good, I already had Justin Jefferson. I'm not taking Jordan Addison. If I got Justin Jefferson,
easy choice. I like Reed over him, especially after what happened. But even before it happened, I like you taking Reed over Addison there. Yep. So as you said, Reed, Addison. Next was Javonte Williams, who I'm actually kind of surprised he went here. When he went, I was like, I can see it for Javonte. I have him in the other league, and I don't know. It fell off, injuries, Sean Payton. Everything around Javonte is just weird. It's a huge risk, big coin flip right now. It's either going to pan out or it's not. I don't think there's much of an in between. I think he's going to show that he's still the back that he was before, or Peyton's going to put him in the doghouse. He's going to flame out and never be worth anything ever again. So
Yeah.
I don't know which way it's going to go. So I wasn't going to be in on it in a new draft, but I'm kind of holding him. He's an ideal like hold right now. You're not going to get anything for him, but I don't know. Don't try to go buy him because it's a weird situation. Then Bryce Young, who is the team's second quarterback. After that, Tank Dell, Deebo Samuel, and then at the turn, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, and then was me again, which I believe looks like I traded up or it was like involved in our swaps, but this turned out to be my pick now at the 9-2, and I took Kirk Cousins, which helped me feel a lot better about having Drake May. I think getting Cousins in the 9th round, who just signed a 3-4 year contract, whatever. So, I mean, really good quarterback in a really good situation. So I'm excited to have that for the next couple of years.
Yeah. And you've got Drake London at this point too. So
yes, that was a big part of it too. I wanted to get that stack because I just think Cousins to London's going to work out really well this year, barring injury. And I'm excited to see it happen. We'll talk about my next pick when we get to it after that. But yeah, I went Cousins there. After that went Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, Deshaun Watson as the team's third quarterback. Kind of like the upside pick there of having him as a third QB. After that, Bo Nix, Will Levis. There was kind of a mini quarterback run. Looks like you took Will Levis.
Yeah, so. that was just me. I mean, I think we talked about it on one of the other episodes or whatever. I'm just kind of bought in enough to him. You know, I think in the new OC that comes from an offense that likes to sling it around, they got him some weapons. Hopefully DeAndre Hopkins gets healthy soon. But there's just something about it. Big playability. The guy slings it. Quirky guy, funny guy. So sign me up, you know, and kind of thought about it too. It's like if JJ McCarthy and Will Levis were in the same draft in the NFL, like who would go before one another? Right. Kind of an interesting thought, but, yeah, I don't know. I think it was just time. And it was like, at that point, who was left? Baker Mayfield, Michael Penix, Justin Fields, Geno Smith, Matthew Stafford. Like, these are the quarterbacks that have gone after Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr. What am I going to do? Why would I take Baker Mayfield when I could take
I agree.
a guy with a little bit more upside?
I like it. I think this is a good spot in the draft for people to take quarterbacks who have shown something in the league. I mean, quarterbacks are just so hard, like, to know who's going to be starting for a long time. And sometimes if you show enough upside and it seems like a team believes in you, which the Titans have, they're trying to surround him. It seems like they're trying to give him a legitimate shot. So, I like that pick here for you to grab him as a QB3 then. After that went Cooper Kupp, and the pick that I had traded with Jay, who was the competitive team we're talking about, took Trey Benson. So a little bit of a switch up for him. I was hoping to snag Trey Benson as well to pair with Jonathan Brooks, just because rookie running backs. When it comes to young guys and stuff, like, it's even a level crazier than that when it comes to running backs with me. Like, I want rookie running backs because I know they can produce right away, and I want running backs in their like second, third, fourth season. I want them before their next contract, and so I want guys that are young, and I want to get rid of them before it comes to their next contract. That's kind of how I approach the running back position. So I try to load up on young running backs. I would have liked Benson, didn't get him. The turn went Baker Mayfield, Zamir White, and then at 10-2, I took Michael Penix, which I felt great that he lasted because I took Kirk Cousins. I was really kind of hoping that would work out that way, being that my team's built for the future. But now just solidifying the Falcons quarterback room, I think feels really good because I think Cousins is going to be solid. If he gets hurt or if Penix is playing really well, then either way, I'm going to be winning out of it. And again, with the appreciating assets, I think his price is just going to go up. He just sits on the sideline behind Kirk Cousins, and I think his value is going to go up, and excited to see when he does get an opportunity there.
Yeah, I felt like this entire process and this entire time, as soon as Penix went to Atlanta, I was like, whoever has Kirk Cousins is the only one that should have Michael Penix, because that's the only value. Like, if you don't have Kirk Cousins, are you going to spend a roster spot on a guy that's going to sit for 3 years?
Yep.
Like, potentially, obviously.
Yep. And it's interesting how, like, honestly, if someone else would have taken Penix before I was able to get him, I'd be devastated. Like, I wanted Penix more than Cousins just because of my team build. But where ADP was falling and where I thought people were going to go, I had to take Cousins first. So it was like risky for me because I took Cousins way over here, and then 4 more quarterbacks went, and then I still was able to get Penix. So I was sweating that one out, but I would have been devastated had he gone. But he was the one I wanted more, and just to get both of them felt good.
Yeah, I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I would have definitely considered Cousins with that next pick over Levis.
Yeah.
Like, I know I just went down this list of guys that I didn't take, but Cousins is that guy I would have. Then I could have had Dak, Cousins, and Kirk Prescott. Same guy.
Yeah. Nice. After Penix is Christian Kirk. You went with the 1004. You went Tajay Spears, running back, Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm just a big Tajay Spears fan.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple.
You spent the first for him in our other league. You traded.
Yeah, I gave up a 2025 first for him last year in our other league, and he's my RB3 in this league, and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like how that worked out for you, especially with the 2 running backs you have ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
Then went Derrick Henry, Terry McLaurin, Tony Pollard, Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs. I mean, this is the competitive team. I don't know. I feel worried about Stephon Diggs. I think this is kind of...
Yeah, especially he's on a 1-year deal in Houston. And I look at, who went, like Xavier Legette, Chris Godwin. I mean, it's hard, though, because of the receivers that went after him. It's hard to really...
That's true. This is kind of a big fall. It is a big fall off here. You're right.
Yeah, Xavier, if that's the way he wanted, if he wanted a receiver. And at that point, he already had Devontae Smith, CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, and Devontae Smith. So, and so, I mean, Stephon Diggs is it's kind of a luxury pick at that point. So it was Xavier Legette, but if he's out on Legette, then sure, whatever. Go with whatever you're wanting.
Yep.
Then there's some other running backs that were left too, but I agree with you though. Diggs is kind of one of those guys I'm just kind of out on at this point.
Maybe that's what it is for me with the judgment is just I'm just out on him, so I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't matter where he goes. I just think feels a little weird. And then after that, rounded out the 10th round with George Kittle. So that's this team's second tight end. He has Sam Laporta, George Kittle. That feels pretty nice as a tight end room. That's through 10 rounds. I think maybe we'll take a little break here and then come back afterwards.